Good people, good people, good people, good evening. Good evening. As y'all see by the title, we talking about what makes a partnership great. And we talking about business partnership, guys. It's Rell Purnell, aka Rell. Thank you guys for tuning in if you're watching it live. I thank you guys for tuning in if you're watching it on the replay. Just a quick introduction here. This is Car Talk. Dang, I'm all slipped up. I got about 3 shows I'm running today. This is Network is my net worth. All right. And, we're here talking about business. We're talking about entrepreneurship. We're talking about finances. We're talking about it all. We created this platform. It started out as me and my guy, Jay Hall, really talking about, conversations around topics of business and entrepreneurship. And then we decided to make it into an actual platform where, himself and I can actually have a conversation about business, about our personal lives in business, as well as to bring others to our platform to talk about, what they got going on in business as well. It's just been great so far. It's been great so far. We always been talking about doing something together similar to this because we always have conversations around business. With having a platform on social media, we was like, man, that'd be perfect. That'd be the perfect opportunity for us to have these topics around business. But also a great way to, inspire and answer questions, and also bring other people to our platform to, talk about their ventures, their business, their journey of entrepreneurship, and spread knowledge as well. Because we both don't know it all. We both don't know it all. And the more people that we can reach out to that can, drop gems, it can help us. I hope not just us two, but everyone be better entrepreneurs, everyone be better business owners. Jay Hall, what up, my guy?
What it is? What's good?
All is well, man. I see we rocking Team Snapback today.
Yeah, man. Listen, it's one of them days out here in the trenches. I'm supposed to be on vacation, but who knows? Still working. You know what I mean? I gotta master this self-care thing. At some point, I'll get it.
I mean, it's go season for you. Like, it's hard to take a vacation in the middle of go season.
Yeah, it's like I'm supposed to be on vacation, and I've probably worked every day this week in some form or fashion. Like, I try to carve out a little bit of time to not work. I'm gonna try my best maybe this weekend to not do any work at all, but like every day. But I can't listen. I'm blessed. God is doing amazing things in my business, so I can't ask for God's blessings and then complain. So we're gonna thug it out and make it happen.
1,000%, man. So, the topic today that you chose was what makes, what makes partnerships great, right?
Yeah, agree.
I'm gonna kick it off. I'm gonna kick it off with one of the first things that I think, and we can kind of go back and forth and elaborate. Both having an understanding of the short-term and long-term goals, and being on the same page from the start, from the very beginning. And
I agree.
I'll elaborate on that. And I'll talk personally, about our relationship, right? Our business dynamic, and our personal / business relationship. I knew you, but we weren't like, right hand mans or left hand mans. We knew of each other. But we respected one another. And as we got to know each other a little bit more, we kind of always had the same admirations and goals, to build stability, to be successful, financially free, and, eventually down the line, to leave a legacy for our family, right? When we got into business, you kind of knew my plans from the jump. And, this is going back to when we started hosting car shows together over 10 years ago. Like, I gave you the plan. blueprint of what I was trying to do. You know, what I did with my previous partners. You know, and what the plan was, what the play was for, you know, the next 2 years versus the next 5 years. And, you know, we crafted up some plans. We shook hands in the middle of Wendy's over some nuggets, as you say. And, you know, we was on the same page from the beginning. From the beginning. You know, we had a clear understanding of what it was. You can elaborate on that, or you can, you know, throw out a second one, or maybe do both. Elaborate on it and also throw out a second one.
So I'll elaborate and then throw out a second one. Yeah, I mean, I think your explanation of it was accurate to what it was. To fill in the gaps, the plan that you had, like, it was mapped out properly and it made sense. So I don't want to leave it generic and say having a plan, because the joke we used to make, if you remember, is the old Martin episode when I think Martin had got a crazy big tax return. And he went to his guys and was like, I'm opening up a business. And the boy Cole was like, yo, rent them spoons. You know what I'm saying? We're going to give them the soup for free, and we're going to rent them the bowls and the spoons, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, he go off and try to swing on Cole because how stupid it was. And I say that because you can have a couple of like-minded people that come together with a plan.
Yeah.
But if the plan doesn't make sense, you're still setting up the business partnership to not work because it doesn't have any vision. Like for your situation, the vision business-wise was so clear-cut. The only thing I had to do was learn the industry that we were going to be doing business in. Like, so it took the stress off me of having to sit down and craft a plan because your plan made sense. And I think that ties into the second thing I'm going to present, which is I feel like you have to know the personalities, the hot button points, the controversial issues with a person before you can get into a situation where you're, what's up, Sassy Stone? Before you can get into a situation where you legitimately lock into a business partnership, because you have to understand, like, to elaborate on our dynamic at the time when we did this in that industry, you know, you were a very popular individual. And your name came with a lot of cachet. It came with some positives. It came with some negatives.
For sure.
And it was a lot, right? But my personality is structured in a way where I don't have ego and nobody makes me uncomfortable. So I could not be talking to you, and I could be talking to, you know, Tony Robbins or Gary Vaynerchuk or somebody with 100 million followers, and my conversation, my tone, and my presentation is going to stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
So as a result of that, our personalities meshed. So that transfers in to business, because at minimum, we've never had, because our personalities match, we've never had a situation that we could not discuss to talk through what was the best strategy, and we were able to leverage situations. So, you know, without going crazy into detail, before I toss it over to you for the next point, you got to, if you remember, there was a time in our business where you are the brand, right? We have to push you to the back.
A lot of people don't know that.
Right? Like,
you dropping some secrets right there, boy.
Oh, listen, we're going to talk about it. We're going to give it up.
Yeah.
We had to push you to the back. We won't elaborate in how we did that, but we had to push you to the back because we wanted to try something different in rebranding the business. And, you know, we wanted to, you know, elaborate on, we wanted to, I guess, restructure the branding in a way where I'm a face that folks didn't know, to see if we can rebrand. And it's tough. A great large-scale idea that is, if you remember when we were kids, Dunkin' Donuts on the sign was Dunkin' Donuts, right? But then suddenly what people don't know is over the years it changed that I think when we were young, the Owen Donuts used to be an actual donut. Now it's Dunkin' and it's a cup of coffee. And people just haven't People just haven't paid attention. But Dunkin' realized that the long-term strategy for them to make money was coffee. Like, and with all the, now we live in a healthier era, whatever the case may be, getting people to eat donuts may not be as readily available, but everybody drinks coffee.
Yep.
Right? So it's just rebranding it. So, but I do think that second point, which I'll summarize, is just knowing the personality of who you're doing business with. I'll toss it over to you for the next one.
Man, so I'm gonna piggyback on that one to my next one. No ego. No ego. And as you mentioned, when we, what's up, Mr. G-Body? When we realized that my name and my cachet may stunt the growth of the business that we had. I had to make a decision. Is the car show Rell cachet, name, legacy worth stunting the growth of a business that we're trying to grow? Like, or am I going to say, yo, look, I'm car show Rell. Ain't no put me to the back. It's car show Rell. So I think that was the first taste of me having no ego, and was like, man, look, we down for the plan. If we got to rebrand it in a way where I'm just a guy on the team with a team full of other people, and sometimes even people that's smarter than me in certain realms, bro, that's what we got to do. So at that point, I think we more so started branding it as Crown Me the King, more so DMV.
Yep.
Than it's Rell Car Show. And again,
right.
We're just speaking to this particular venture because this was a partnership team that we had. But yeah, having no ego, guys, having no ego in the business can get you guys a long, long way.
I agree 100%, bro. Like, you can't have any ego. And the other thing that having no ego does is it gives you a lot of freedom in terms of leveraging. Like the part that, I won't elaborate too deeply on, but yeah, you took a step back in certain ways, but there are a lot of rooms that we couldn't have walked into without you, where the dynamic had to shift going into that room.
That's true.
And you went from the back to the front. So the thing is not even necessarily about pushing anybody to the back, and that was the original verbiage I used, which might have been incorrect, but it's more so about leveraging the situation. And if we want to be detailed, we went into every strategy like, what's the best angle?
Yep.
So if the best angle was you going in and doing X, Y, Z, that's what we did. If the best angle was me, then that's what we did. Or if the best angle was us doing our business version of Styles and Jadakiss and going back and forth bar for bar in a room to get what we needed, that's what we would do. But I think the thing that we have to, the underlying thing in that within black businesses is, and just black people, a lot of times we're looking for gratification. So we're looking for support. We want to start something that get people to say, I'm proud of this person, you did well, etc. So it may not even necessarily be ego, but it's if one person in the venture is getting the love and another person isn't, then they feel like, well, this is nonsense. Like, why should I do that? And it's crazy. We didn't get a chance to do our normal pre-work, but there was a great story that came out. The number one podcast on Barstool, it's called Call Me Daddy, with two women, and they went through some contractual issues with Barstool or whatever. One lady decided to leave. Another lady decided to stay. And, the woman's ego was like, I can't believe that you would stay, because this particular host of the show was the host, but she did the accounting, she did all this stuff. Now, she just didn't feel like she was getting what she needed from the business. So she leaves. She says, I'm going to start my own thing. The other lady stays, continues her momentum, builds her brand, and when her contract just was up, she sold her podcast, or the licensing of her podcast, to Spotify for $60 million, right? Which is a game changer in the podcast space. But every article I read talked about how, like, the other woman must be sick. Like, oh my gosh, she's sick. Well, yeah, she's sick because the ego
Mm-hmm.
in that situation, in my opinion, is what got the best of her, because it was, I'm the one back here doing the grunt work. I'm chopping up the videos. I'm doing the accounting. I'm making sure the behind the scenes people is getting paid. But everybody references you as the lead or as the capo.
Yep. Yep.
And I'm not getting my love.
And if I never say it, man, you know, I'm gonna say it today. That's why I commend you on, bro. Like, you know, in that particular lane in the car world, I was more so the face. And, you know, you was even though we were 50-50, you were okay with me being Car Show Rell and everybody knowing me. And, you know, they know you through me. Not, oh, yo, yeah, he Car Show Rell, but I'm Jay Hall. Like, it's both of us. Like, you never was on none of that, bro. Never. Like, yo, let's Car Show Rell. Let Car Show Rell do his thing. If I got to boost him in, let him do his thing. But vice versa. If we walked into a room and I needed to play assistant, I played assistant to you as well.
Listen, and that's the part that when we're talking about ego, you got to remember, for you, you know, locally here where we were in the car space, I mean, you're going to always be a legend. You've moved on to far other things or whatever the case may be, so I would never want to backtrack you. But you're always going to be a legend. And salute, Mr. G Body. You're exactly correct about that. You know, like, you are a legend. But for me, all I care about is good business and revenue. Like, I have no emotions, and salute. I developed that. You know, one of the blessings I did get, you know, leaving West Baltimore and going into corporate America, was understanding that emotions have no place in business.
Correct.
Like, you can feel how you want to feel, but emotions have no place in business. So as a result of that, is what's going to leverage it to get us where it is we need to be. And I think the funny thing that we forget in business, we watch these things happen all the time. Like, you know, when we were younger, I can remember when Nelly became a star and the St. Lunatics started getting money and all this and that, right? I never heard a St. Lunatics dude like, yo, I was round the way and I was nicer than Nelly. Yeah. Like, them dudes just kept cashing their checks. They kept pop locking and dancing in the background and wearing wild outfits and all that and cashing their checks.
Yeah.
And to your point, it's so funny that you shared that, because we walked into a meeting and it happened to be someone in the meeting that we knew separate from business. So they couldn't even really focus in the meeting because they're like, why is Rell listening to him?
Yeah.
like they really lost. They lost in the room like, nah, this is like, I'm not getting it. Like, right. Y'all don't know who this is, who's taking notes for this random guy. Like, who is this guy? And what people don't understand is that not accidentally, but eventually, if you provide value, people are going to understand who you are, right? Like, it happens. Like, even in our venture, I played the back so much, but I played the back to the point that someone approached me who has a very close relationship with you and was like, oh, yeah, you such and such, such and such. Had my whole government name and all this other stuff, and I'm like, how you know me? I don't. In the conversations that I have, we not in the same space.
Right.
Like, you supposed to just know Rell. No, I be studying. I know you.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna happen. And guys, I can't understate anymore. No ego, because I also think to carry on to the next part of this conversation, that ego is the reason why friendship businesses fail at a rapid rate. You know, and I'll go into my next one by saying friendship or business relationships falter for two reasons: ego and lack of business knowledge. So number one is ego, because you feel like, this is my guy, we equal, this is my girl, we came up together, she's not better than me, I want the same love and the same acclaim that they've received, right? And then lack of business knowledge comes in, because you want to treat a small business, a medium-sized business, a corporation-related business, the same way that you would treat, you know, like shoveling lawns back in the day. So you might get a shovel with your buddy and go shovel a couple lawns and say, listen, man, we going to bust down. Like, we made $20 a day. You get 10, I get 10, business. Until you get into real business and understand that there's certain expenses that you got to sit behind. You got to pay employees. You know, there's a lot of things that have to be done before the owners in a venture can get money. And then furthermore, if you and I start a business tomorrow and you say, listen, Hall, I want you to be a part of this, but I know you ain't financially in that position, or vice versa, and you put up 70% of the money and I put up 30%, then that means you get 70% of the profit. Yep. The fact that we friends and we cool and our wives know each other and you know, I was there when your daughter was born and all, that's great. But this is business.
Completely different.
And dudes treat it like, you know, you shooting dice or playing spades in the neighborhood, and it leads to relationships faltering. And for us, we're so amped up as a people to be in business that we don't want to take the time to do the due diligence to learn. Like when you brought me in that partnership and you said, listen, man, I just want your business savvy and all of that. It's cool. And the way I responded to you was and said, I can't be business savvy if I don't understand the business. So let me go out and learn it. So I took my time to go out on my personal time to shows. I'm going to shows that you ain't even at. I'm going to shows. I'm studying the social habits. I'm learning it. And then vice versa for you. You're going out and saying, okay, if I want to negotiate, bringing in sponsorships, et cetera, let me learn the business side.
Yep.
Let me learn the points. Let me learn do I got to pay somebody on the back end?
Yep.
And it's everybody doing their due diligence to make the venture work without being emotion. And it's one of the reasons why I will put it out there right now. The one person on this earth that I would do business with is on the other side of this phone.
Facts.
Like, I'm just gonna like, and don't get me wrong, I might ease up to that or whatever the case may be, but you know me well enough to know that when it's good business and it's time, like, I don't have time for emotion. We done had heated conversations. You said, man, I think it's gonna go left, and this is why. And I took a step back as a man and said, yeah, your reasoning makes sense. If it ends up that it works and we miss that wave, because of your logic, I'm willing to do that. You can't be emotional. Like, we listen, we're going to get real deep on here and talk about how we had a show that went bad in the pouring rain. We had objects flying in the middle of the highway. Like, it was a disaster. It was a disaster.
At a separate show, people passing out. Somebody's leg got cut on somebody's tailpipe.
Yeah.
Like, we think that we finished, we done. Our $1 million policy is going to get ate all the way up, and it's just like we ain't gonna be able to do no more shows.
Well, hold on, pause right there, because I want to turn it over to you, but you just said something key. Also, you want a business partnership to work? No shortcuts.
Ooh, let's get to that.
No, so let's get into that. No shortcuts.
Let's get to that.
We went out and paid for $1 million commercial business policy for every event that we had. Because if something happened and somebody got injured, we wanted to make sure that we had insurance to protect us, but also to pay out and cover them and any vendors we had.
What else we had? Security.
We had top level armed security at every event.
Why?
Because we want the consumers to be comfortable while they're there. Not because we're predicting there to be an issue, because we feel like it ain't. But it's not about what we want. It's about the consumer. We wanted people, when they pulled up in their vehicles, to come and show up to feel like nothing's going to go down here, because there's a negative stigma when it comes to events and black businesses that a fight's going to break out or whatever. And to be fair, if anyone did pull up and kind of think, maybe I want to start something, you're going to see the armed security there and understand that we're not cutting no corners.
Big facts.
Employees. Our employees were paid before we made a dime. Yep. Everybody gets paid.
Even if it's down to us taking an L.
Even if it's down, listen, we had some events that were amazingly successful. We had some events that were failures. Everybody got paid.
Yep.
It don't matter. On top of, we had committed to a church for that event that went super bad. We had committed to a church that we were going to donate proceeds because we want to give back to the communities that we come from. And it went bad, and we took a major loss. And we still went in our pocket and donated because that's what we own, and that's what we're about. But to your point, no shortcuts. Everybody, when they start businesses, whether it's partnerships or individual, everybody's looking for the finesse.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can I finesse it? What's up, Lenny? How can I finesse it? You know, how can I make it work in a way that it becomes advantageous for me? And a lot of times relationships go bad because one person listens to the other person in the partnership that they respect. That person is finessing. The finesse goes bad. It might go bad to the point that it puts the business in danger. And now they only have a relationship no more. Because the person feel like, yo, I trusted you with my part of this brand and we was building something. And you finessed it and got us both put in the jam. So, and we see that going on right now. We won't elaborate, but we see that going on right now with partnerships and this PPP, you know, government assistance money that's going on right here. So, shortcuts will be my next one. I can't do it. What's your what's the next one you got in your mind, my guy?
Let's elaborate on that, bro. I'm okay. This was one of my this was one of the topics that I had, but it's almost like a piggyback. Having the proper paperwork in place.
Oh yeah,
with the shortcuts. It's people out here who have great ideas. They have great talent. But they don't want to LLC the business. They don't want to put the proper paperwork in place because they feel like, oh, then it's a real business and I got to file taxes. And I think, you know, people try to find those loopholes, you know, through trying to beat Uncle Sam and really try not to be on record just in case everything goes left and it doesn't boom off. They can just walk away scotch-free.
I agree 100%. Some of it is lack of knowledge. Some of it is exactly what you said. You know, you got to have proper documentation in place. And I think also some of it is, like, you know, we've had conversations about offline. When you have documentation in place, documentation comes with expectation. Like if I'm doing a side hustle and I'm making sandwiches on the side of the street and I'm passing them off and you like them, the day of tomorrow, if my sandwiches end up being trash, I can fade in the dark. You just won't see my sandwich cart no more. I move on. It'll be like you never knew, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I get the business licensed and I get a food truck or I open up a brick and mortar establishment, now I got to deal with Yelp and Google reviews. Yeah. I got to deal with internet comments where if I'm not providing good service, people now coming on my social media and saying, man, I called you about an order I had an hour ago. Y'all ain't responding, but I see y'all lollygagging on the gram. What up with my order? Like now you have to deal with that. So what
insurance
people want,
policy. You gotta get an insurance policy for your business. Extra expense. Trying to cut out that.
No, you don't want that. And the thing is that we don't, as a culture, a lot of times we don't see the need for something until it happens. Then we wish that we had it.
Big time.
You know, and I think unlicensed businesses and businesses that's on BS time end up taking off so fast and making so much off the books under the table money. But as one of my personal guys said, in his journey as someone who's on that kind of tip, he said, man, it starts out great. But the problem is when you run into that brick wall, you have no responses. Like you have no way to adjust your business because it's not a property licensed business. You get into a space where you're ready to break through to the next level and people start asking you questions like, you know, before I offer you this deal that's 10 times what you would normally make, are you licensed? Now you're scrambling. You don't know what to say. You're trying to hurry up and do some paperwork, but the paperwork takes longer than what you prepared for. So it's proper documentation. Listen, man, we need to, there got to be a whole separate episode at one point where we just get into we can bring someone else on to discuss with it, but we get into the logistics of having proper documentation because it's so key. And truth be told, as I saw on a different show someone talked about, is there are programs that are out here for legitimate businesses that you can't even take advantage of because you want some nonsense. Mm-hmm. Like in the state of Maryland, we were blessed that, okay, so the government came up with EIDL advances and PPP loans to help businesses to stay afloat during the pandemic. But in the state of Maryland, our governor had a whole separate program for businesses. And the only caveat was, you got to be a licensed business.
Yep.
Like, that's it. It was like, nah, you ain't got to have made a whole bunch of bread and all this and that. Like, we'll give you a little something to keep you going and keep you sustained. And I agree, Mr. G-Body. It's needed, and we got to have that conversation. And the last part I'm going to say on this, and I want to turn it over to you, bro, is we got to start checking people in business the way we do personally, right? So, for example, a man can't be in a room with me and make women uncomfortable or try to put his hands on a woman or whatever the case may be, or disrespect a woman, right? The same way it's got to be if I'm talking to my man who I love and that's my guy, and he doing some unlicensed, under the table, uninsured situation, I got to check you and say, yo, you my guy and I love you, but how you selling food and you ain't got the proper vendor's license and safety certifications? You could be out here making people sick. You know what I mean? Like, what's good? Like, it can't always just be, yo, as long as you're getting money, that's all that matters. Because when it goes left, that's when we like, man, yo, come to find out they shut down my man food truck. He had cockroaches in there. And you heartbroken. Meanwhile, the whole time, you never had a conversation with the individual about the level of business they were doing.
Yeah, me personally, man, I'll put myself out there personally. I'll experience-wise, we was doing chauffeurs with our personal vehicles since 2004-ish, 05-ish. When I got the Benz, and I'm just speaking to it personally because based on them, man. I started to treat it as they even had it on my business card: mobile escorting, mobile chauffeur services. And then something hit me like, yeah, I'm making money on the side. Prom season is great. If somebody if not me hit somebody, if somebody hits my car while I got this kid in the back seat, my insurance policy does not cover it. So I had to make a decision. I'm making good money on the side, good side hustle. I had to make a decision, man. Look, do I want to jeopardize my future over, making a couple extra $1,000 a year? Because I'm chauffeuring people unlicensed. And that's why I stopped. I stopped doing it. But when I jumped back into space in 2014, I was like, man, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it all the way. I'm going to get my policies right and everything like that. So, that's just a personal story about me. I was on that side. I was on the side of unlicensed.
But I want to point, like, I feel like you definitely alley-oop the point that I was making, because your business is an exact response to what we were saying, which is you started a good business, you was making money on the side, and then you hit a brick wall. But once you took that side unlicensed business and licensed it, it turned into the biggest business in your portfolio of businesses. Just the sheer idea of getting the proper paperwork done, getting it licensed, putting together a plan, and jumping off the porch, taking the same risk, but just calculating it. Now, the job that you were working that made it a side hustle is no longer existent. You're a full-time entrepreneur. You got a chance to delve into content creation, investing, and do all these other things that sheerly opened up for. You already had proof of concept because you was doing it on the side.
Mm-hmm.
So you knew you could get the money. You already knew because you was doing it on the side that nobody in the area was doing it with those kind of vehicles.
Yep.
So you had everything you need to say, I might as well put, and I remember those days because it was an insurance policy here, you know, license here, sticker there, a couple of small $100 here, $100 there, $100 here, $100 there, get the business licensed, etc. Now all of a sudden you got a full-fledged business.
Yep.
And that's what I keep trying to explain to people, is that some of these ideas that we perceive to be small are bigger than we believe. But we running real businesses like side hustles.
Yeah, you can't do it.
You can't. Well, you can do it, but it's gonna die out, and you're gonna see somebody double back and take your idea. And the greatest example of it, even though we don't have, you know, we didn't have technology to that point, is, and I talk about it all the time, is hacking.
Ooh.
And you know, what
it is just in case somebody.
So to clarify, I'm assuming it's seen in different things in other areas or whatever the case may be. But in our community, we had unlicensed drivers that, or I place like this. Hacking is an unlicensed rideshare service. Let's bring it to the day. So it's like if you lived in the ghetto or the hood and you needed a ride from one place to one place, and the taxi cabs are charging you far more than you can afford, you can get to the same distance with a quarter of the money.
Yep. There's
no insurance to protect you. There's no business infrastructure. It was mainly older guys with clean older cars and nothing to do, and they could make a few $100s a day by just dropping, you know, families from the grocery store to their house for pennies.
Yep.
So fast forward, I'll phrase it in this way. Corporate America realizes that, hey, you know, in some of these urban communities, these guys have been able to combat the taxi cab industry, and they're going 3 blocks for a quarter of the money. What if we develop an app, make the drivers upload the license, make the drivers upload their insurance, so we're putting the liability on the drivers, and we can set it up that, yeah, it's hacking, but we're going to call it ride sharing. And you can put your debit card in it, and you can book it, and you can get an unlicensed business person to pick you up in their car and drop you off. And it's a $1 billion business.
$1 billion business.
$1 billion business. And don't get me wrong.
And they're not going nowhere. Even though they're not profitable right now, they got so much backing and so much money in the system. They're not going nowhere.
Bro, let me tell you something. I had the pleasure of, and I'll leave their name out of it. You know, I worked for a lot of large financial institutions. The most recent one I worked for, they had a large taxi cab portfolio. I'm talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that they had invested in the taxi cab business. It went to zero. It went to $0. They had to sell off all of those assets.
Medallions or something like that?
Yep. They had the medallions, and they had to sell all of it off because rideshare businesses, a.k.a. hacking, put them out of business. You tell me, when's the last time you run a transportation business? When the last time you was at the stoplight and you seen a taxi cab?
They're non-existent.
No. It's
a lot of cab drivers are now driving their own cars.
The taxi cab drivers now ride for the rideshare services.
Yep.
And what people forget was, we talk about licensed businesses. In those days, the taxi cab drivers had to have their state license posted in the taxi. Yep. So that was part of what made you feel, quote unquote, safe. Because it was like, oh, this guy's licensed, this is his car, so on and so forth. Nah. They took something that grew in low to moderate income areas in the African American community, saw what it could be, and said, I'm going to take this on a big scale, and I'm going to monetize it. And throughout our lifetimes, I feel like there's been a ton of different businesses that originated in our community, and they just found a way to monetize it and rebrand it as something brand new to their consumer base, and it worked.
Yep. I agree.
Great convo, bro. I know we coming up against it, man. Please give us your final thoughts, and then let's close it out.
So, you know, we got 4 minutes. I'm gonna sneak this last one in.
Okay.
Accepting criticism, feedbacks, and idea from your partner.
I don't even know.
Especially when you're 50-50. I mean, it goes along with the no ego thing. But I think in order for it to work, in order for the dynamic to really work and really take off, you got to be open to the other half when it comes down to the planning, ideas, the long-term growth of the business, the short-term growth of it. You got to be willing to be open-minded to have that real discussion, no matter if you got if you're more tenure than that person in that particular lane. I think it's still, that 50-50 that you got to still hear your partner out.
I agree. And to give my last fast thought, I got to supplement your thought with real life. So when we were in business together, you are the guy that is the subject matter expert in the car business. So you bring an investor to me that wants to do some business, and he got some good ideas or whatever, and you banging on the table. Like, I don't care what you say. I'm running this play. Talk to my guy. And I'm like, okay. And long story short, by the end of the conversation, you turn and looking at the guy like, man, dude kind of fraud. And you brought him to me, right? And to your point, it's us having that tough conversation after that meeting to say, we got to trust each other in what we do. So you the car guy, and I'm the business guy. If I tell you that he might be a good car guy, but he's shitty at business, you got to hear me out on that. And then we ran through it.
That's right.
And you the whole time we were sitting here and you talking to him, I took 10 different notes about how he's super trash.
Super trash.
But we moved past it. All we did, it became a funny story that we told people when we laughed about. But to your point, before we wrap up, there was no emotion in the conversation.
No.
So it wasn't, who are you to tell me about this guy? I made a mistake. Let it go. It's nothing. If I come up with something that's crazy, you'll be the first one to be like, oh, you don't know where your mind is at with that. You wow. And even with having that meeting, you banged on the table and said, bro, I don't care what you say. We going to meet, dude.
Yeah.
and if it go wrong, just pull my card about it.
Yep.
Fuck it, we going to meet him. So,
yep. No,
good point, though. Good point.
That's facts, man. That's facts. All right, man. Look, we thank y'all for watching. If y'all watching live, man, definitely salute to y'all. If y'all watching this on a replay, definitely salute to you guys. Next week, who we got? Who we got lined up for next week?
We got my guy, the legend, my man, CEO Sass. Next week, gonna be on here dropping a lot of gems and free game, and we're gonna give him his flowers in advance because he's another superstar business entrepreneur that the social media world just don't know yet.
Yeah, I heard a lot about him, man, and that's our goal is to get these people who been making moves happen. That's super successful, but you guys might not know about it, and they got a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge. So we want to bring them on our platform so that we can share them as well as their talents out to the world. You want to close us out, bro?
Yeah, man. Once again, thank you for tuning in to Network is My Net Worth. We appreciate you. Salute.
We out.